Hello and welcome to Wikipedia Weekly Network, here where Albin Larsson and I, Jan Ainali, are editing Wikidata live. How are you doing, Albin?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well as well. I'm actually enjoying summer here, where it's actually normal summer temperatures. So
Oh, that's a luxury.
yes. How's your weather?
It's still terrible.
Oh,
Um, we used to have been feeling the smell of smoke here all day because there's been a big fire nearby
oh,
and stuff like
oh.
that. So, um, we're not there yet where I feel like, yeah, this is nice. Uh,
Yeah. They're saying there's another heat wave coming here in the end of the week, so we'll see if
oh,
that's going to be the last one.
yeah.
Yeah, because we're heading towards fall and autumn, and what
And
happens
that
in
always means
September?
exactly.
Yes, Wiki loves monuments.
Yeah, you kind of gave it
It's
away there.
yes, somewhere around there. So we're gonna do a little bit around that in various ways. What do you have planned?
So I've been thinking for several years that it would be very nice that instead of just a big massive map or long list of monuments, we had like small curated sets of places you could visit and all the monuments in that place. And that is of course a lot of work if you would put a person trying to put that together, each and every place, curate it. It's like Wikipedia itself. But what if we could use Wikidata to see what are the nearby monuments? Do they make sense to group them and so on? So I'm gonna play around with that. And you, Jan?
I was thinking we had a little when we restarted a little bit of like heading back to basics, and some things that we have been doing a lot and sometimes just almost rushing through is in the Sparkle query counting and using grouping. So I'm gonna, with a little bit of Wiki Loves Monuments theme, try to do some queries using those functions, and maybe get into some editing, because sometimes when you do queries like this, you find something, oh, this looks interesting. I want to look into that. And today we're streaming on YouTube, we're streaming on Owncast and on PeerTube, and we do have all of these up so we can see your comments. We can only show the comments on YouTube, but if you are asking us questions somewhere else, we can also catch them and answer them. So feel free to comment wherever you watch us. But with that, I think I'll try to go ahead and share my screen here. There we go. And here we have the Wiki Loves Monuments item on
You're starting
Wikidata.
at top. You're starting at top.
Yes, at the very top. Uh, and what I wanted try to do was like, well, I was thinking like, well, how can I find a lot of Wikidata items? Because each country have different types of items part of it. Uh, but then I remembered that we do have, and if you scroll down here somewhere, maybe it's even in the very bottom of the main statements, we have the main Wikidata property, which is the Wiki Loves Monuments ID. I don't know if this is actually used for all countries now, or if there are some, but I'm thinking I'm gonna start here, and we'll see what we'll find, and then we'll also see what we what we won't find in a sense. So here's the query service. Oh, I'm gonna need to zoom this in here a little bit. I'm gonna do select and control space to get this pop-up menu, and I'm just gonna start with something simple here. So, and I forgot to check what the property ID was, but we can start writing Wiki Loves and control space again here to get this autocomplete. And Wiki Loves Monuments ID is the one we wanted. And I don't really care about the value of that. I just want to see, do the item have it? And then I'll take that as a shorthand for at some point in time, it has been part of the Wiki Loves monuments. Even it might have an end date or something like that. We don't know, but at some point in time, this was relevant. So it was in some country's database or
To quote
list.
you earlier, you used want a lot of Wikidata items.
Yes, yes, and maybe, well, maybe start even here. Just see if this perhaps times out. I don't know how many this is. I'm imagining there's hundreds of thousands, maybe up to millions. I don't know. Maybe this was a bad idea to do it with the well, I have the item label here as well. So and this one slows it down a bit. So maybe I'll stop this one. I think so. Yeah. So well, there we go. Oh, we got some other error here.
The response was cut off. You reached the timeout like before it returned the
Ah,
entire response.
all
So
right, all
it
right.
had finished computing the result, but it
Yeah,
didn't finish delivering it to you.
all right. So we can see that it finds some things at least. Like we'll hear our items with something that actually seems to be correct. Something like would like to find, and of course someone that doesn't have labels as well. But let's then try to remove the label because I'm not really interested in seeing what they're called. So let's just try to do this and see if that gets any better, because now it doesn't have to store all of that data. And also the default service label here, yes, exactly like my here is. Oh, and also, I'm gonna get to Qlever or clever. We need to figure out how this is actually pronounced later, possibly, probably, because this seems to be timing out as well. Yes. So even like a simple query like this doesn't complete in time when the amount of items are many. So I'm gonna copy this over because I suspect this one will time out any day now. And then we have on I'm gonna show the on this URL clever.dev dev, and that will actually by default also go to /wikidata, but you only need to type the first clever.dev. Will take you to this site. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here as well. No, now I'm zooming on another window. Maybe like that. And then I'll first just paste this query in here. And you'll see it adds these sparkle things visibly in the interface. I think if in the Wikidata query service is sort of, it's there but in the background, or how does this actually work, Albin?
What exactly do you mean?
The prefixes in the query service.
Yeah, they are just pre-configured on the
Yeah.
backend, I think. You
Yes.
can
So
also add them using the UI here if you really want it to be clear.
yeah, there's one of these
Using one of the
buttons.
buttons.
Is it this
I
one?
think it's
No.
the needle one. That one, the pin one.
Aha. Add standard prefixes.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. And then we get all the ones that we can possibly need in the Wikidata query service. We have the ones we recognize over here. And I think, on the other hand, what happens in the clever interface is that when you start writing something that would need any of these, it will auto add them in the top, which is quite nice. So you don't need to worry about those, but I don't know if I remove this here, will it break? No, it will just add them back. All right, So you can't really mess it up either. So let's try this one. So exact same over here. And now I got a 502. That's a poor one because that's a server error. I hope we're not gonna have that one go on all day. Then it's gonna be a short stream.
We will figure something out. We have lots of
Yes.
Wikidata item, I have heard.
Yes. I'll come back to here then, but I'll see. Instead here, what we can do always, of course, if we know that we have too many, is that we can use a limit to just start to see how does this item look like. And then we'll get something like this. Let's see if we can try to do a count here. And we're gonna remember this, but if I start to write select here and press autocomplete, we also see that we have some short helper template here for making a count. And when you want to count something, that I think it kind of needs to happen in your select query. You count something that is in here. And if I'll just copy this over here, then I'll think this one will try to count every row that we find. Or do we gonna need a group? If we need a group, it will say bad aggregate. No, it did work. So that one was very quick. And that's also because in up here, it didn't need to remember the item wiki IDs. It only need to actually add them up. And if you see in the bottom here, there's 455,000, so that's 500,000. And my here says that the 502s on the queue level are usually intermittent. So maybe we can come back here and see if I copy this, reload the page. Except, nah, still. Well, anyway, this is the basic count. Like here we count all the rows. Depending on what you count, sometimes it might be good to specify in here what you're actually counting. But that depends on your query. So you make sure that you don't count the same thing twice or things like that. So I expect that if I now say I want to count all the items, we're going to get exactly the same. Let's see, 455,287. Let's save that in a comment here and run this and see if it differs somehow. Now this might time out as well because now it worked, and it took a little bit longer time, 9 seconds, but it's the same. So this one was actually working well. Yes, and as Nicolas says here, we can put a distinct in the count to make sure we don't count things multiple times. But let's get to the fun stuff, and let's hope that this holds up over here. Let's say we want now to figure out, well, which countries do we have here and how many items do we have per country?
That's a good one.
So we'll add here, and I'll start country. I think it's P17 here. And again, no, here I actually want to know the country. So I need to say country here because I want to put that in the list. I'm not going to use for the first time the label service because I think that will slow this down. So we'll probably going to need to know a few countries or look them up by clicking.
Yeah, we know the countries.
Yes,
the QIDs for the countries we got them.
You do? You think? So
let's see.
Yeah, let's see. And now I'm just going to do something that's not going to work. So if I just press query, or well, let's run this one, because this will count, but it won't count the amount per countries because I didn't change anything in my select here. So I'm actually going to stop that right now. So what we would like to see when this ends up is that we want to have a row with the country and the amount, country amount in the end. So let's add country as one of the things that we are actually selecting here. And now if I run this, I'm going to get an error. I'm going to get something that's called bad aggregate, which means that my query now doesn't know how to group this because this is outside of the count. And what we're going to need to do then is to tell the query service explicitly here. Well, we want to group this by country. So every country is a group, and then we count within that group. So now this count will be per country. And you can do this almost like arbitrarily complex or selecting or showing the values, but you also need to know, make sure that you have the same select here that you group by, or you will get this bad aggregate. And often, very often, at least for me, is that when I working with my queries and go back and forth what I want to see, sometimes I forget to do the change in one place and I will end up with this and which one did I forget to change on? So here we're going to go with this. So let's see. So press here and fingers crossed that it will actually not time out. Oh, it worked. So 88 results, which then means we have this ID on items in 88 countries. And then we get them listed here in some random things or order. Or not random, I think. I think we'll get them in QID order. No, we didn't even get that. Oh. But here's the top one, Q38. Do you know that one by heart?
Nope.
I
Do
think it's Italy.
you think it's Italy? That makes sense. The numbers
Yes.
also give you a little bit of a hint.
Yes. So it was Italy. So with the Wiki Loves Monuments idea, we have most of them in Italy. So a lot, 140,000. Q212.
That's Ukraine.
Ah, yes. I don't know the 159. Do you know that one?
Neither do I.
Russia. All right.
Oh.
So here we got them, but of course now I had to use these. Well, they're very handy because you don't need to decide beforehand. But if you know beforehand that you would like to see the ones that are in order, we can order it explicitly here. And then we use the order by. And if we just put in, let's say, the count here, then it will order it, I think, default going from lowest to highest. Let's actually test this out.
I think so.
Yeah. So if
the
you're not
computer
saying
scientist in me likes that.
yes. So that one goes from the lowest to highest. How long did it take before here? It shouldn't be, the order shouldn't add so much time because that's when we get the result. It should just
Not in this case, I think, but
yeah.
it can add quite a bit of time because it needs to ignore your limit usually. So even if you limit something by 100, it needs to order all of it.
Yes.
But that's not the case here.
No. and we only have 88 rows to order as well, but we did get a 502, which is unfortunate as well, because that's another one. So let's try now to take this one over to QLever and see if it works over here. I can't, I need to reload here, I guess, to get rid of this. Where's ridden by the 502s here on
Yeah.
both our different engines. Yeah, the mysteries of Sparkle optimization, and of course that one also depends. I don't know this, but I'm guessing it depends on which engine we're using.
Oh
Because
yes. Oh yes.
yeah,
Even like how certain functions work or the output they produce
yeah.
changes
Oh,
across
here we actually
engines.
got a result, and we see, yes, we got a lot of ones.
A
So
lot of
there's
ones.
only
That's
one.
odd.
Yeah, that is unusual. So Q155.
I think the Mysteries of Sparkle Optimization is also a very good book title.
All right. So one from Brazil. That seems like a mistake, doesn't it?
I wonder if you can click the ID and it shows you the monuments database. Maybe not.
Whoa. Which, wait, where? What?
If you go to the item and then you search for Wikilab Monuments ID, is that an external property that you can follow?
On Brazil?
No, but that's odd because it shouldn't really. No, of course you don't have the actual item. Sorry.
No, I don't have the items here. No, yes.
True, true. I thought the
So
one would be on the
yes,
country for some reason.
yes. No, no. But if I do like this and
Yeah.
just select the item here, I think I will get, and then I need to remove these. We'll get the item. And yes, but if it has its own monument ID and doesn't need the Wikilove's monuments, it's still odd that there's one item using it. So we do have a bridge here, which is in the focus list of Wikilove's monuments in Brazil, and that's the only one left. Yeah, so I'm guessing that Brazil either used to have all of them here and then moved on to something else, or someone was testing an item. I don't know. But yes, as Nicolas says, should be 0, not 1. That seems odd. But I'm not going to change this one because I don't know what's the case with this. But now we at least see it. It's a proper thing that probably sometime has been part of this database. So let's get back. I think I have this up here still, and then we'll get back to country here. And group by country and order by, and now I want to be explicit. I want to have the highest count first. So I'll add DESC for descending and descending count. And we'll run that. Oh, that could be some. Maybe the other one counts are transnational. That
Interesting.
could be something like it's something like South American items for some specific kind of list. Could be. Could be. It doesn't have to be wrong. That's true. There could be some logical explanation to this.
Oh, and that's
Aha.
another. Yeah.
It's both in Brazil and Bolivia. And the ID comes from Bolivia. All right, all right, all right. And then Bolivia will be somewhere else because they will have a lot more items. What is Bolivia? Let's see. Bolivia 750. Where do we have 750? There we go. Yes, so they have almost 1,000. So, and that also, of course, makes sense with a bridge because the bridge is on likely on both ends, so that will have two countries on it. Can I do I have it still here? Yes, let's check the bridge. There we go. Yes, Brazil and Bolivia. All right, all right. Very, 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 very cool. So there we go. So this gives us the list of some countries, and it's clear here that we don't have all the countries. For example, I would have expected Sweden to be much higher here if they were using this, because they are at least in the tens of thousands of items, maybe even above
Completely valid
100,000.
ones, there is like 800,000
Yes, yes, but
according to the rules.
yes, but not in Wikidata, right?
Not in Wikidata. I think it's
Yeah,
110,000.
yes, something like that. Yes, and we're not up here. Um, so, all right. So this little exploration gave us some clues. I'm gonna do a quick another kind. Yes. So the question is here: does Sweden has its own monument ideas? And yes. And I think for the competition, we're using several different kind of IDs because
Yes.
there are different sources defining them, and we have properties for those. So and not, I think they've been in the competition now. They're even more inclusive now. Anyone that has an ID is eligible for the competition, even if it's not in Wikidata. So you just need to put in photo something that is in the national lists that are in the competition, which also varies a little bit by year. So and I guess that might also be true for other countries. So you may need to look that up. What's in the competition this year?
Yeah.
But one quick more thing I want to do, because now we grouped by country here. I'm getting a little bit curious also, like seeing a bridge, which isn't an obvious monument, but I can totally understand that bridges can be. So I want to see types here. So I'm going to go with a quick here for instance of, and I want to say type. And then I'm going to need the change the selection here and the grouping. And let's see what we get. What types do we get? And hopefully this don't run out. Now it's going to be even more tricky for us to figure out what item this is, because countries you encounter a lot, which sometimes, and they have short numbers, which makes you sometimes remember them. But these types, these like I don't know what a bridge is in the QID for it. Let's see what we get. Hopefully it won't run out. This will likely have a lot more. Oh, more results. So 3,000 different types of things, and
That's interesting.
77,000, almost 78,000 of something. This is fairly short. What can it be?
Charcoal clay.
A church.
Church building.
Ah, of course. That's nice. So that's the most common type, but we have a couple of them quite up here. This one is even longer. I don't know what this is. And then I imagine when we have 3,000, we have quite this power law tail where we have a lot of them with few. Ah, yes, Nicola guessed right there. Oh, landmark, architectural landmark. Yes. So this almost like by the generic monument in a sense. Aha. And friends, 50% are churches. All right, all right. So you know what to do. I don't think there's 50%, but I think in Sweden, I think at least, no, maybe not all churches, but
Not all,
no,
but a
not
lot of
the,
them.
a lot of them. Yes. Well, so these are different ways here. So grouping is interesting to see, especially when you want to count different kinds of things in the same query. And unfortunately, I think, well, let's do a last little, let's bring this over to the Sparkle and see if this one, if it will run now. Nah, no, Clever is not with us today. All right. So I'm going to stop it there and hand it over to you.
Let's share the query on Justin as a small,
Yes.
because I want to look at that later.
Yes. So let's bring this back. So if you have missed it, if we click this little link here, we get a short link to the query. So you can just copy that, and I'm going to post it as a comment here on YouTube, but I'm also going to put it on a banner for the audience later to see it. So I think that will do it. Yes, TOF 2. All right.
Amazing.
And let's see if I can get your thing on stage. There we, no, that's still mine.
No,
I need to remove my own and add yours. There we go.
there we go. Yes, and as I said before, and first let's start. Here's a lovely example of what Jan talked about when we have, this is a monument, this is a heritage site, it's a museum, it's a castle, and so on, which is a typical thing that we would have seen in his query. I also happens to love this example because it says this has use, fortification, castle, citadel. And I think those should get a couple of dates on them because that's not its use today. It would be quite terrible, I think. Maybe as a castle, it still has that use, whatever that use is. How that's defined, I don't know. But this is a lovely example because I think if you want to create like groups of monuments that make sense as places where people can go and see more monuments and actually make a visit so that they can find Wicklow monuments that way. This is just a great example because there should obviously be monuments around this that we could group together with this one. So I want to write a query for like, give me the monuments for Wicklow monuments or in the Wicklow monuments context near this particular place. And then I don't mean place as in coordinates, but I actually mean place as in near this Wikidata item. So we could you swap out this Wikidata item for a different one and so on. So let's try to write that query. I'm gonna start by copying this QID and head over here. And I always do it like this. Just write some boilerplate to get something. I might even do something like this, or in this case, let's bind this. Binding is essentially, if you're familiar with programming, we're creating a variable which we name something, and I'm trying to remember the syntax, but this could be or origin, for example. I think that makes sense. And now we got this lovely case of, okay, but how do we get things nearby? And there is a sheet code in the query service that is called examples. So if I just search around here, we should see this example here, for example, places within 1 kilometers of the Empire State Building. And here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna copy this, because copying is how you get around. Um, at least when it comes to the SparkL service. So I'm gonna look at this. We are here. I think this is the Empire State Building. I'm gonna put my variable here, and I'm gonna replace this with that value. So already, if I remove that one as well, this one should probably get us all locations within 1 kilometer of this location. We do also calculate the distance down here. I do not care about that, but that's a nice one. We get the instance off as well. This is what actually do the around part. It gets us stuff within 1 kilometers. We would not be able to run this in the queue level Sparkle endpoint. It doesn't support this particular part, nor the label, or it's a similar case. And we're ordering them by distance, which is it's another nice to have. It's not within my requirements, but it's something that the examples gave me for free. So I'm gonna run this and see what happens. I didn't, because the syntax is like that. I assume someone in the chat might have pointed it out to me.
No.
So no, okay. We do get a lot of duplicates here because we are selecting the instance off. So for example, we are getting the origin item itself, which for my use case is completely fine. Otherwise, you could do a filter. I might show that later on. But that's why it shows up many times here, and distinct wouldn't solve it in this case because we are selecting that instance off and showing it. So they are actually distinct. This line is not the same as this one, even if the item itself is the same. But let's see if we can just get this on a map. That's it. And of course, this is still not stuff relevant for Wikidata monuments, or not at least. Here, for example, is a school. That's an outdoor gym. Here is another school, which has a very odd coordinate, but that's fine. Here is a government agency, it seems like. I don't really like that coordinate, but that's fine. So we can work from this. We need to filter it down a little bit, but that's it. And as Jan mentioned very neatly, is that we have a lot of monument IDs in Sweden. Like, if I wanted to filter for all of them, I would have like a massive optional here that's just like, let's see, buildings, monuments, working life museums,
Boats, airships,
boats, and
maybe
there
the
might be a new one coming.
uh,
So 4 to 5.
yeah.
And then we have a couple of different generations of the IDs as well. Monuments have 2 generations, and so on. So I'm gonna use a sheet code again. And if we look at this castle here, we do have a bunch of stuff. And we have this heritage designation, which does a pretty good job, because if it has this, it's likely that it is on the list. But we also have a couple of things that has one of this, but aren't relevant for Wikidata monuments. And that's gonna be the case here as well. But we have this. This is like the Swedish Europeana. And they mint URIs for building monuments and a lot more. But most things here with a coordinate is also things that go on the list. For example, and this is a terrible example actually, because this is both a protected building and a protected monument. So this is actually duplicated in Wikidata Monuments. You can either upload an image saying that this is a protected building or a protected monument, or both. And here it gets complicated, but it means that by just saying, hey, does this property exist? We get a pretty good idea of, yes, this is relevant for Wikidata Monuments. So that's what I'm gonna do in a similar fashion to what Jan did, that I don't care what the value is here. I only care it exists. So down here where we're getting places, I wanna say place. It should have this property, but throw away the results. And I wanna rerun this. And as we do this, let's also use the trick of adding a comment here that the default view should be map. Rerun this. Sadly, when I add that, I also nuke the caching here, so it actually has to rerun the query. But there we go. Okay, so then we get 28 results. What is interesting here is that all like the monuments are north of the castle, which is here. Here we're essentially getting the castle multiple times because of the instance of. Here we have a church building. This is a rune stone. I assume it's, yes, rune stone, runic inscriptions, so multiple instance of. Here's a building, which is also a set of buildings. Here's another building, another building. Here's the church, another church, another building, and so on. But what we can see here is like, yes, we have a cluster of items. Then again, my use case is that I want you to be able to like visit this place, go around, and currently it's like the radius is 1 kilometer, which means that if you want to visit this place and take images for Wikidata monuments, the walking distance you could make, even if you could walk through buildings, would be 2 kilometers. And I think that's a little bit long for my use case. In the best of worlds, you wouldn't walk more than like 1 kilometer at most to photograph the ones that you want to see. And that means that the radius couldn't be longer than 500 meters, meaning 0.5 kilometers. Then we can rerun this and we see these are still not like grouped in really as I would like. If you would do a photo walk of this to get these monuments, it would be like, okay, you have the castle, you have a building here, you have the church and the rune stone, and another building, and it's quite far, especially if you count there's a river going through here. So this way I would kind of rule out this as a curated location for Wikidata Monuments beginners. But because we can easily like swap it, what if we take this building instead? And I just steal this QID, and because I just put it in a variable up here, I can just replace it without changing anything else. I could even, if I would share this with someone, change this and stuff like that to tell them what to do. Let's rerun it. And we now have a new center. The center is this one. We do, of course, still have a castle within range. Maybe there is something here. It would be hard to tell. But let's also try something completely different in terms of monuments. What could we use? We can actually, let's use the Wikidata monuments. Map and pick one that way.
You could also, the thing you use as origin doesn't need to be part of the competition.
That's true. That could essentially also just be a city. Let's try that actually. What if we set it to Norrköping here? because that should be quite central in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great idea. I do not know the QID of Norrköping.
Neither do I.
Um, do you know the QID of any Swedish city? Not that I do, but I'm just curious.
No, I recognize the Stockholm one, but I don't know it. But when
Yeah,
I see it, yeah, that's the one. Uh, Mostly because there are a few similar Stockholm concepts, so you sort of need to learn which one is the city.
yeah. So this
Ah,
sadly didn't end up great because I assume the coordinate for Norrköping is completely off. It would be somewhere here, not where I would put it, somewhere here, which is nice because we found an issue.
mm-hmm.
Um, if I used copy that QID back, go there. Oh, I had item open. Okay, let's just verify that. Yes, that's completely off. Where does that come from? That's really odd.
Could it be a typo?
No, I think this is like a statistics database, and I assume they calculate it from some type of this is what we count as the inhabitant,
Mm,
and then they put something in the middle, or
yeah,
it's exactly the middle of the municipality or something silly like that.
yeah.
Um, we should fix that one day. That day is not today. We are picking a different city simply. Um, I'm gonna pick Gränna, a much smaller city, so it shouldn't allow for that type of
Yeah.
error. It's not a city, it tells me here. So smaller indeed. Yes. Oh, this is nice. This now we're getting somewhere. This might be what I'm looking for. So here we have like within just a few street corners, where quite a few things that all seems to be monuments. This is a building, 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 church, and a building. Yeah, which I think makes a lot of sense. So this could, for example, be something where I think we could group it up and say like, hey, if you want to go somewhere and spend a little bit time on Wicklow monuments, you could go to this street in Gränna, and you can probably spend half an hour to an hour here just photographing a few buildings. And it would probably be a pretty nice trip as well, because usually when you have a bunch of monuments grouped like this, especially of various types, um, it means that it's also quite nice visiting place. You could go here for a reason that isn't Wicklow monuments and still have a nice time.
You're almost connecting to your theme last week with traveling. Maybe you should try the train station.
Oh, so you're actually getting into an idea I've had, like, because I've been exercising driving, and what if you plot your exercise route after like Wicklow monuments needs rather than
Yes.
anything else? Still something I want to do, but it's really hard to do with Wikidata.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yes, there is something there. It's not unlikely that we will get back to that at some point. But that I really like. So now one question I have is like, okay, but if we can write a query like this, we still need, if we want to generate at least a couple of things that a human can look at and decide, yes, this is a good place or not. Um, how would we approach this? Because I'm currently handpicking this location. So one thing actually that I didn't realize earlier, but I think is really good now, is like actual city centers. Because around city centers there is usually a lot of historic buildings. We could probably use that as a source. Another source that I've been thinking a lot about is if a monument is prominent enough to be a place to visit in itself, and you just want to add to that, you could also do that. And one way we can do that is like, okay, what are the most photographed monuments already in Wikilow Monuments? So we know actually that the place just outside of Gränna is like pictured all the time because it's just next to the Sweden largest highway. Um, and what if there are more monuments around it? Sadly, another bad example, there isn't in that particular case. But we could kind of use that as a metric to try to generate this type of query, which we could then like handpick, or maybe even, okay, I know that this hotel that's not really a nice place to photograph. It's a lot of people, or it's really hard to get there. You might need to climb the fence. Let's pretend that's the case. We could remove that just to make this like introduction to Wicklow monuments a little bit smoother for people. Or a lot of the actual monuments we have in Sweden in Wikidata are like underground or almost underground. You'll need like a professional to see them. That is very common. And we could also remove those or even put that in our query that this particular instance of shouldn't be in here. And that way we could maybe like source a couple of things like this to have a start. Um, yeah. And with that, I have 8 more minutes. I was just really productive simply
Yes,
because I used examples and cheated, and everyone should do that.
which is great. Oh, you can also show while you're
Yes.
at it that you can autocomplete this Wikibase around.
Oh, all of it?
Yes, I think so.
That's nice. Oh, it even.
And then I think it tried to put the center on where your browser think you are, but maybe your browser doesn't tell the service that. Oh, double service.
Um.
The auto coordinates there.
Yeah, I don't. I copied the
Yeah.
examples. I don't know what I exactly. I pick the locations here and put them
Yeah,
here.
so you need to change the auto
Yeah.
coordinates for lock.
So let's do that for the. But that's also nice because if you do give your browser your coordinates for some scary reason, you
Maybe you're on the phone and really want to
oh,
find them.
it's really useful on the phone. I don't know if watcher people use. I guess people are using the query service on their phone. It's quite tricky, but I find myself doing it slightly too often.
Yes.
And I still have the double service. Um, is it? Yes, it's this one. That isn't needed. We did bring up the distance, but that's fine.
No, that one was needed, but I think it was called origin instead for.
Let's use the sheet code. Place location.
No, weird.
But does it need to be in here? This is the downside of copying examples.
Yes.
Um, yes, it needs to be in here. Because it decides
Yeah.
the stuff we want to get out of it.
Yes.
Okay. That's the difference. Did we get the search right now? Yes, there we go. We had to remove the distance. I think there was also because we're
So the double
calculating the
distance.
distance down
Yes.
here, we had a conflict with the variable names as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Typing queries on the phone is not easy, but using assistant, yeah.
Yeah.
That's I do have a series of bookmarks and a messaging thread with myself where I used to put Wikidata course for the phone.
Yes.
Um,
Can be very useful. All right.
nice.
Yeah.
And we are close enough to the hour.
Yes, I think so. Do you want to share this one, the query?
Yes.
If you
But
put it
I
in the.
I will send it in a message to you because
Yes.
there
There
we
we
go.
go. Did you get tofu?
Did I? I
I think you
did.
got tofu. Oh, wow. That's almost a waste. We should have had a tofu for that.
Indeed. Oh, and we should write some script that calculates.
Upcoming
Not just the
things.
super cool one, but like the words.
Yes.
Yeah, this is
I
slightly confusing even.
yes. I think I nerd sniped some early, and capital Ben goes to Big Ben.
Yeah, points to
All right, but I think that's gonna be this for today, and we'll likely be back in 2 weeks unless nothing unexpected happens. But we'll
I
aim
hope
for
so.
that. Yes, and until then, happy editing.
Happy editing.